Chapter 7 Down the Well. A small frog sat hopeless at the bottom of the dry well. It was tired from trying to escape and hoarse from croaking. It was the croaking that had gotten it into the well in the first place. If it had just been quiet, the boys would not have found it and dropped it in. The frog wished they had at least dropped it in to a full well. Drowning in fresh water had to be better than dying of thirst in a deep, dark stone hole. If the frog did not get wet soon, it would not survive. Something dripped down on the frog from the circle of light above. The moisture sank into the frog's flesh and revived it temporarily. Then a rope slid down the wall. The sweet smell of dirt and oranges seeped into the frog's pores. Something blocked the light from the top. Something that was getting closer. A few minutes later, a girl stood at the bottom of the well, holding on to the rope and looking at the frog with glee. "Hello, Mr. Crawpod," Corinne said. "I've come to rescue you." Corinne scooped up the frog in one hand and put it in her pocket. Then she tried to pull her way up the rope, with her feet pushing against the wall. Although the well was mostly dry, some moisture remained in the rocks. The cracks between them was slick with moss and fungus. Corinne slipped and banged into the wall as she tried to scramble up. More than once the frog got squished between her hip and the wall of the well. It croaked pitifully. "Crawpod tingle," Corinne sang in an effort to soothe it. She pulled up on the rope, but her foot slipped again and sent them both slamming into the wall and then back down to the bottom of the well. More croaking. "Shh," Corinne scolded the flattened frog. "This is hard enough without your constant complaining, and we have to hurry. Those boys will be back to torture you any minute." After a few more attempts, Corinne figured out how to grab onto the crevices with her fingers and toes. She knew not to move to a new spot until she was secure. Once she had the hang of the slippery rocks, she barely needed to use the rope. It was too hard on her hands anyways. Once they were outside of the well, another drop of Drew's salty tears fell on the frog's back. It was the most water it had had in an entire day. "I told you not to worry," Corinne told her new friend. "I said we'd get back out just fine." Corinne picked up a half of a coconut shell from the ground and poured the rainwater inside it onto the frog's skin. She set the animal down. The frog hopped quickly towards the forest. It turned around at the edge of the trees and watched the girls. Then it turned back and hopped out of sight. "Now we put these in," Corinne said, pointing at a ringing sack on the ground. Drew shied back a few steps. "It's okay, you just have to know how to handle them." Drew became slightly yellow with fear, but stepped carefully up to the writhing sack and held the ends with her fingertips. "Be careful not to drop it," Corinne said. Drew nodded and squeezed her eyes closed. Corinne untied the sack and gently emptied its contents, nearly a dozen scorpions, into the well. The scorpions fell with a series of tiny thuds at the bottom, and in an effort to escape, they immediately began to climb the rope. "Come on, they'll be here any second." Corinne hid in some thick shrubs near the edge of the forest. "Don't get too close," Drew said. She fingered the end of her braid nervously. "I told you there's nothing in there," Corinne said, looking over her shoulder at the forest. She shuddered despite herself. "Fine, I'll find somewhere else for us to hide, but only because you're so nervous." Corinne led Drew across the dirt road, and they both crouched inside a thicket of tall grass. At their usual time, the brothers appeared around the bend in the road. They picked up a few stones and fitted them into their slingshots. Then they went